Man, I still can't believe how brazen she was. The first time I saw her splash into my pool, sunglasses glinting under the sun, I just froze at the edge, clenching my fists. "You're trespassing," I yelled over the water, trying to keep my voice steady. But she just laughed, kicked the water at me, and shouted, "This whole neighborhood can use it if I say so." I swear, my stomach twisted into knots. She hadn't come alone either. Two of her friends were lounging on my chairs like it was some resort, sipping wine like royalty. I wanted to lose it, but I kept my cool. Pulling out my phone to record, I was met with her smirk. "Call whoever you want. The HOA backs me. You're the outsider here," she taunted, and I felt that familiar burn of fury mixed with disbelief. What she didn't know was I'd updated the deed last month. It was all in my name now. She jumped out, water dripping everywhere, marched up to me, poking her finger at my chest. "You'll regret messing with me," she hissed, loud enough for her friends to hear. My blood boiled, but I kept my voice calm. "No, Karen. It's you who'll regret underestimating me." I could see her friends exchange uneasy glances. Something was about to shift, and my plan was already forming in my head, one she'd never see coming. Her entitlement days in my backyard were about to end spectacularly. Next morning, I woke to the sound of splashing again. I rushed out, and there she was, floating on a giant pink inflatable, waving like it was her private paradise. Two random kids cannonballed into the deep end. My pool had turned into some chaotic public water park. I shouted, "Get out now." She ignored me, raised her wine glass, and laughed. Then she pulled out a laminated sheet, slapped it on my patio door, and yelled, "By order of the HOA, this pool is for community use." I nearly dropped my coffee. It was a homemade fake, complete with a ridiculous seal. Her friends clapped like she'd won an actual court case. I stepped closer, examining the paper, trying not to laugh, trying not to explode. She leaned in, whispering, "One word from me, and the cops will drag you out." I stayed calm inside, because what she didn't know? Every move had been recorded on hidden cameras, and I called someone she would never want to meet. "Enjoy your swim, Karen," I said coldly, turning away. Her laughter echoed, but my plan had only just begun. That evening, I heard sirens. My heart jumped, thinking maybe she finally got herself caught. But no. Two patrol cars rolled up. Karen stood at the edge of the driveway, soaking wet, pointing at me. "That's him. He's dangerous," she screamed. The officers turned serious. One stepped forward, hand near his holster. "Sir, we received a report of harassment and trespassing. We need to talk." Karen smirked, crossing her arms, while her friends whispered behind her, clearly entertained. She thought she had won, that her fake story would bury me. But one of the officers? Used to be in my unit overseas. Recognition flashed in his eyes, and he subtly shook his head, like, "Play along. I've got this." Karen strutted closer, waving her fake notice like gospel. "Arrest him already. He's trespassing." The officer calmly asked, "Ma'am, are you claiming this is your property?" She nodded confidently. "Yes, and I have documents to prove it." I almost laughed, but held it in. Next move wasn't mine. It was his. The taller officer reached for the paper, studied it, and turned it around. Spelling mistakes, a cartoonish stamp, a watermark from some free template website barely hidden. His eyebrow lifted. "Ma'am, this isn't a legal document." Not even close. Her smile faltered. Then she tried to recover, shouting about HOA rules and neighborhood rights. But her friends' faces betrayed doubt. Then the officer who knew me spoke. "Actually, we checked records. This property, including the pool, is legally his. Title transferred last month." Karen froze. Her mouth opened, no words coming out. I stepped forward, arms crossed, voice low but sharp. "You've been trespassing, using my pool, filing false reports. All of it's on camera." Second officer asked, "Is that true, ma'am? Did you enter without permission?" Her face turned bright red. "No, he's lying," she stammered. "He doesn't even live here." She tried to claim she was protecting the neighborhood, controlling it, but then the officer who knew me leaned closer. "Ma'am, you called us to arrest the wrong man. The person in front of you isn't just the owner. He's a decorated veteran and knows the law better than you ever will." For the first time, Fear flickered in her eyes. She tried to maintain her bravado, arguing about HOA rules, but the taller officer snapped, cutting her off. He tore the fake notice in half. There are no HOA rules here. This neighborhood isn't even under an association. Her friends gasped. Betrayal painted all over their faces. They'd been tricked too. Karen's eyes darted everywhere, scrambling. No, no, you don't understand. I was just keeping order. I stepped closer, pulling out my phone. Protect it or control it? I asked, showing the officers the footage, her climbing over my gate, dragging her friends inside, drinking by my pool, mocking me. The screen glowed, undeniable proof. She lunged for it, but the officer blocked her. Ma'am, that's enough. One more move and you're in cuffs tonight. Desperation replaced arrogance. You can't do this. I run this neighborhood. Everyone listens to me. I looked her dead in the eye, slow and steady. Not anymore. The officers exchanged glances. One reached for his radio, the other whispered the words I'd been waiting to hear. She'd be brought in for questioning. Karen's face drained of color. Neighbors were gathering, curtains drawn back, doors opening. Half the block was outside, murmuring, pointing, whispering. The queen of the neighborhood, the fake ruler, dripping wet, trembling under every staring eye. Someone shouted across the street. So all those fines you gave us were fake? Another neighbor waved a stack of papers. You made me pay $300 for a lawn violation. Murmurs swelled into outrage. Karen's words tried to explain, but only fueled the crowd. Phones out, recording everything, her meltdown in real time. The officer beside me raised his voice. Everyone calm down. This will be handled officially. But even he couldn't stop it. The whispers, the gasps, the laughter. Karen, self-proclaimed queen, was exposed in living color. I stepped just far enough for everyone to hear me. This ends today. The street held its breath. Karen's empire of fear, entitlement, and fake authority crumbled, and even as she was led away, there was a tension in the air. Like, you knew this wasn't over. People would talk, argue, take sides. And that's when I knew I'd won. But the debate, the chaos, the gossip, that was just beginning. So, tell me, what would you have done in my shoes? Who was really in the right here? Share your thoughts, because this one's going to get people talking. All right, picking up right where we left off. The neighborhood was buzzing, lights from the patrol cars still flashing, casting that red and blue chaos over the crowd. People were whispering, pointing, some even laughing quietly at Karen's meltdown, while others just shook their heads in disbelief. I stayed near the officers, keeping my composure, but inside, I was grinning because the next part of the plan had just begun to unfold. You see, I didn't just want her caught. I wanted her to understand, in the most public way possible, that entitlement doesn't get you free passes. The officer who knew me gave me a subtle nod, like, go ahead, do your thing. So I did. I stepped onto the patio, raised my voice so the neighbors could hear, and said, everything you saw today, the swimming, the fake notices, the threats, it's all documented. And it stops now. This pool, this property, belongs to me. End of story. A few heads turned toward me, eyes wide, absorbing every word. Some murmured, finally. Others just stared, stunned. Karen, of course, wasn't done yet. She tried to regain control, pointing at the crowd, shouting, you don't understand. I'm protecting you all. I'm keeping things in order. But no one was buying it. Her friends were backing away slowly, whispering nervously, clearly realizing that their queen bee had just been dethroned. And then came the subtle, satisfying twist I'd been waiting for. One of the neighbors, a woman who Karen had bullied for years over a minor fence complaint, stepped forward, holding up her phone. I paid you $500 for a bogus fine last month, she said, voice shaking but loud enough for everyone to hear. And you're telling me now it wasn't even real? The crowd erupted. Phones were out everywhere, recording, live streaming, laughing, whispering, pure chaos for Karen, pure vindication for me. I stayed calm, letting it all unfold, letting her crumble under the weight of her own lies. Karen's face was pale now, wet hair sticking to her cheeks, trembling as she tried to bluster. But the officers didn't flinch. One of them quietly whispered to her, "Ma'am, there's more footage. We have every encounter, every trespass, every false claim. And you know what? You're done." That's when Karen's eyes darted to me. She realized I had orchestrated it all, every piece falling exactly as I'd planned. And just as the crowd began to press closer, murmuring, arguing, the unexpected final twist hit. One of Karen's neighbors, a quiet guy who rarely spoke, stepped forward holding a tablet. "I recorded her threatening my kids last week by the pool," he said. His voice was calm, steady, and for a moment, silence fell. Karen's mouth opened, then closed. No words came. That was it. The dam had broken, not just for her, but for everyone who'd been intimidated or manipulated by her. The officers finally guided her toward the patrol car. She tried to argue, tried to claim some moral high ground, but the street was alive with eyes watching, phones recording, and her authority dissolved in the glow of public scrutiny. I watched as the car doors closed, as her friends shuffled off, as neighbors started sharing stories, laughing about past fines, shaking their heads at the audacity of it all. The tension hung in the air, thick and electric. But there was also this strange sense of justice. Messy, loud, public, but justice nonetheless. By the time the patrol cars drove off, the crowd had begun to disperse, some congratulating me, some shaking their heads, still gossiping, still arguing. I took a deep breath, letting the evening sun hit my face, the pool calm again, reflecting the sky like nothing had happened. But inside, I knew the neighborhood had changed. Karen's reign of entitlement was over, but the stories, the whispers, the debates, those would linger for months. People would talk about it, argue about it, some defending her, some finally seeing the truth. And I could finally relax, knowing that sometimes patience, planning, and a little quiet cunning were all it took to turn the tables. So here's my question to you. What would you have done in my place? Would you have called it a day after she left? Or would you have made sure everyone saw the truth like I did? Comment below. Justice, entitlement, neighborhood drama. What's your take? Because in the end, this wasn't just about a pool. It was about standing your ground, playing smart, and proving that sometimes the quiet ones have the loudest victories.